Hey there, welcome to the Redeemer Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today we are blessed with another alumni episode where we check in with one of our alumni from various walks of life. I'm joined by Naomi Papalreal. Naomi is a fairly recent grad from Redeemer University, graduated in the class of 2024. Back in 2023, Naomi was named Co-op Student of the Year, and I'm really excited for you to hear the part of the interview where she breaks down her co-op placements. If it is your first time here, make sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and check out some of our other episodes that explore various aspects of Redeemer, Christian education, and so much more. Thank you for making us part of your day, and with that, here we go. And we're back with another episode of the Redeemer Podcast. I am so excited today. I'm joined by Naomi. Naomi, how are you today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And now I know you're a pretty recent graduate. You graduated about a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And has a lot happened in a year since you graduated Redeemer?
Yeah, well, I've been working. I work online, so it's been really good to, yeah, just kind of get more into the working world.
Yeah.
I did do a co-op placement through Redeemer, two
Right.
co-op placements. So it's kind of, it's interesting for like business grads. If you do the co-op program, you're kind of in this state of like studying and then working and then studying again. So it kind of felt like that for a little bit, like, oh, I'm back on placement, but no, it's like real life. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's been good.
okay. And well, let's I know you have such a unique story to Redeemer. So let's dive in. So you graduated with the Bachelor of Business Administration, the BBA.
Mhm.
What was your story coming, why did you come to Redeemer and what was your experience like at Redeemer?
Yeah, for sure. Well, my parents live in Spain.
Mhm.
We moved here when I was 13 years old, so
Okay.
2013. They're international workers with the Alliance, and so yeah, I was in Spain. I was attending an American international school,
Okay.
and my story of finding out about Redeemer is like a little bit bizarre because it was this. So someone from Redeemer had come to my school here in Madrid area.
Wow.
And they had left some merch. And so our school counselor just kind of every once in a while, a lot of schools would tour, but because it was an American school, they didn't really get a lot of Canadian representation. So I remember there was just this contest or something to win a Redeemer water bottle. Because they
No
just,
way.
yeah, they just like did this like every once in a while to like kind of, deplete the merch piles, I guess. And so I won it. And I found it really interesting that Redeemer was represented because, again, there were so many American schools
Yeah.
represented. So I just, yeah, got into looking at Redeemer and the programs that were offered. And that's kind of how I, yeah, first heard about Redeemer and did more research and just felt like a really good fit.
That's a really cool story about how you found about Redeemer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so so you came to Redeemer, why were you interested in studying business?
Yeah, so I actually for a very long time I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to study. I've always been more of a kind of a jack of all trades. Like I'm interested in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
Um, I think the very first time that I really was passionate about something was um, a specific field of study was in high school. I took it was American government class, and I
Okay.
really was interested in that. Um, but I was just kind of, trying to figure out what kind of degree would give me some strong skills to be able to work in a variety of fields. So not just like, to get a political science degree and work in government. I was also interested in like, maybe corporations or, I wanted a degree that kind of gave me a lot of good, useful skills. And then I could kind
Mhm.
of pivot and explore different areas. So yeah, that's kind of how I came across business. Um, and yeah, I took slowly. You kind of figure out your way, but I slowly moved my way towards more like marketing and communications work um, through my co-ops. But yeah, that's kind of the short story there.
Hey, that's a good story. And let's just dive into, so we'll rewind and talk about your co-op placements, but what about, so you graduate Redeemer, and where did your career path kind of take you?
Yeah, for sure. So, again, I did the co-op placements, and that kind of led me to the position I have today. So I work for the Runnymede Society, which is a legal membership based organization, and our main work is basically running chapters across law schools in Canada, and we help
Mm,
them run events that have to do with constitutionalism, the rule of law, and fundamental freedoms. So
cool.
uh, it's an interesting organization that I kind of got to know through one of the classes I took at Redeemer
Huh.
that was run by Christopher Kinsinger as well as Andre Schutten. It
Okay.
was an intro to law class, and that's kind of how I got connected to Runnymede because Chris was the national director at the time.
Cool.
So yeah, it's just that's kind of how I came across my role today. But yeah, I definitely took a little bit of thinking, how can I use my skills? I worked at Cardis during co-op, and Chris had a connection there too. So I think one of the greatest things about Redeemer is that there's such a great network there,
Mm.
especially with the nonprofit world. And so for me, I was really able to benefit from that network, and that's kind of how I got my position today. And yeah, it's very fulfilling.
That's awesome. Well, no, thank you for sharing. And how would you say your time at Redeemer prepared you for what you're doing now?
Yeah, for sure. Because I studied business, you kind of gain a lot of different skills through it. It's a bit of an interesting degree because it's a little bit of a build your own degree. So,
Okay.
you take accounting classes, you take strategy classes, you take organizational behavior classes, marketing, sales. Like, you take a wide variety of different courses. So all those courses give you a lot of skills, both hard and soft.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the benefit to getting a business degree. It gives you a wide skill set that you can then kind of hone in through work experience. Um, so I think for my role today, for example, like a lot of it is, marketing. I'm the operations and communications director, so it's a little bit of a wide net. So I think Redeemer really prepared me very well because you get to take a wide variety of courses. You know a little bit of accounting, so you know how the best practices. Um, what best practices should be implemented, and then you take a little bit of marketing, so get like the basics there. So yeah, that's kind of the a big benefit from my education.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about that. How would you say that your faith has impacted your professional life? Because at Redeemer, we do prioritize teaching from a Christian worldview. When you're studying business, you're not just studying business; you're studying business from a Christian perspective. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it really helps you when you study through a Christian lens to understand how your faith can really be lived out in
Mm,
just your regular life. And I think a main way that kind of helps you is through the values that you learn through your classes. So you don't just learn, for example, how to be a good accountant. Um, you also learn how to be an ethical accountant, how
mm,
to understand what the Bible says around, being a good human being, around
yeah.
having values and treating other people, in as if they are made in the image of God, which they are. So it's an interesting way of teaching that is, I think, really needed in this world,
Mhm.
because it doesn't teach you just how to do things. It teaches you how to do things well and how to hold these really important values really dear to you so that, even if it comes at personal cost, when push comes to shove, you go with doing the right thing.
Wow, well said. Well said. Very well said. And you mentioned that you did co-op placement at Redeemer. It was with Cardis, and then did you do a second co-op as well?
Yeah, so my very first co-op I did
Yes,
with Waybase,
Waybase.
a Christian tech company, and then my second one I did with Cardis, a think tank.
Very cool. And could you talk about those experiences all and how they kind of help prep you for, what you're doing now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Waybase was my very first co-op. I think something for business students, when you get your very first co-op, you're not really sure what to expect. So thankfully, my role, it was such an amazing opportunity for me. It was a Christian tech startup. So
Mm,
I think the startup world is just a special world in and of itself, because it teaches you to kind of ask questions and try to keep up the pace as everybody else. So you don't get the typical intern experience.
yeah.
Um, I did my role was primarily working with Daria Nardoza. She works at Kentro right now. She does essentially helping development organizations network with each other and work together on projects. So um, just having the opportunity to have a mentor like that was really fulfilling for me, and it really beyond just the tasks that I was handed and the opportunities I had to network with other uh, Christian nonprofits. It was just a really good opportunity to learn how to work with
Yeah.
somebody and how to make your boss have a better experience through your work.
Hmm.
So that was kind of the main lesson that I learned is how to support um, your supervisor. And then with Cardis, it was the think tank world. So
Mm,
a lot of public policy exposure there, which I found really insightful and really helpful because it kind of helped set me up and for my future career interests. And it also helped me learn from a lot of really good people who, are Christians living out their careers. And so, yeah, I really, co-op is not just a place to get work experience, which is very important and very good, but it's also an opportunity to find mentors and to find people who are living out their calling.
wow. Wow. Well said. And so I again, you graduated not too long ago. What, has there been some kind of unique opportunities? Like, can you can you walk us through that? So you graduate, and how quickly did you find what you're doing now? Was it even before you graduated, you kind of knew you were going that route?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying to make the long story short, but when I was about to graduate, I was kind of at a crossroads. I think a lot of people feel this way. A lot of people have this idea that, once I finish my schooling, I will know what I want to do with my life and I will know, like, what exactly my interests are and
Mm,
what my career is going to look like for the next 15 years. Well, in today's reality, especially, that is just something that very few people I think are going to experience. I think something that's a bit more common is um, to face a little bit more uncertainty
yeah.
and not knowing exactly what you want to do. So the approach that I took when I was about to graduate, kind of starting in my last year at Redeemer, probably more so towards like January, the beginning of the second semester, was I'm just going to apply to a lot of opportunities that interest me. And so I applied to jobs, I applied to master's programs. I had learned through my second co op at Cardist that I was really interested in public policy. I was really interested in the kind of the intersection between business and government, and how to create policies that really support businesses and promote development. Again, I it also goes back to my roots. I'm from Argentina,
Mm,
and my family moved to Canada because of economic reasons. So
yeah.
it's always been a passion of mine to be involved in the development world. And so, yeah, I was exploring a lot of opportunities, and I had been accepted into a master's program. Um, I found that out during basically my last semester of school. Um,
Okay.
and so that was kind of what I was thinking. Oh, I think I'm going to just jump into a master's program. But then I got this job opportunity through my former professor, and to join Runnymede. And essentially, it gave me a little bit of a big decision, right? It's like,
Mm.
oh, do I pursue work and then maybe leave my master's for later? Even though I know that I want to, get more skills in public policy analysis, or do I go with this job opportunity, get, some money, which is good
Yep.
after school, and then also some really good skills. And I also had considered going to law school previously. So it gave me an opportunity to really just test that out and see what it's like. So yeah, I worked something out. I deferred my master's program, which I'm actually starting in September,
Okay.
and I signed a 1-year contract essentially with Runnymede, to help them both operationally as well as on the communication side. So building up their social media accounts, um, posting a lot more, helping them also set up their student chapter programs, getting a few more processes, automated. And so looking back, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes in life, God just kind of puts opportunities in your path, and you look back and it's easier to see how they fit together. But yeah, that's essentially what I did. Did the 1 year. I'm almost done the 1 year contract, I guess, but I'll be staying part time,
Okay.
and I do my master's.
And do you mind me where your master's is and what it's through? Or
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to be doing a master's in global affairs at University of Toronto.
cool.
Um, so it's a master's program that kind of focuses on understanding public policy and also international relations.
Mm.
So it's a mix. It's through their Monk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. So we work really closely with the public policy master's students as well. So it's an interesting program that I'm very excited to start.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. Thank you. You did a great job sharing your story, kind of what this year has looked like. I know I'm sure that's the short version. I'm sure there's a lot of other things that you could have said. Um, Maybe could you talk a little bit, if you reflect on your time at Redeemer, what was the Redeemer experience for you like as a student?
Yeah, so I was a pretty involved student. I really like making myself busy, I guess.
Hmm.
And Redeemer's a great place to do that
Yeah.
because um being a smaller school is actually a really big benefit to students because you have closer access to professors.
Mm.
Like students in really large universities, it takes a lot of effort to be able to connect and work with professors. And so, a really big thing that I did at Redeemer was just try and find those opportunities to work with professors and pursue um, club opportunities as well. So I started this one club that was sponsored by American Enterprise Institute. I think that was my most involved extracurricular, and so that was a really cool opportunity because it also kind of fed into my path towards public policy
Mm.
as a career. And so essentially what we did was we would um, pitch event ideas and invite scholars to speak with students at Redeemer. And so I remember our very first one, it was virtual. And so that was great. But actually, the speaker at the end said, oh, like there was actually quite a few students here. Like I would have been happy to come in person. So it kind of, being an American based think tank, we didn't know if it would be possible to fly out speakers, but
Yeah.
yeah, I remember just one of the highlights was having Dr. Stan Voiger, come, and he had a really good lecture on globalization, and I just think it was so amazing because it was, I think, roughly a year before like all the, talk about like tariffs and things like that from the states started happening, and he was already telling us like a year in advance. Essentially, he's like, yeah, like this is kind of like how um, you know the economy is moving, and like we might be seeing more talks of tariffs in the future. And so I
Wow.
just found that so interesting. um yeah, just to have that opportunity to bring scholars, and it was, yeah, a really great opportunity to not just build up your resume, but also get students together to learn outside the classroom. So that was kind of one of the highlights for us.
That is a really cool memory and highlight. Thank you for sharing. And I want to talk a little bit more about, and you've done such a great job kind of explaining how your faith has, woven into your career. But do you have any kind of specific insight into, what being a Christian, in public policy, in your discipline, and as you go on to your master's, looks like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think a big one is, again, I've mentioned values. A lot of people, you know, you can you can live out your faith in private really well, and go to church and do your devotionals and everything. But I think another important piece of being a Christian is also having that influence how you act and how you
Mm,
interact with others. So a big one is being a person who listens first.
mm,
I think that's a really important one, having humility, really checking yourself to make sure that the fruits of the spirit are living through you,
mm,
and you know just being a really good ambassador for Christ, I think.
mm.
Because I know, especially in today's climate, a lot of people might not have amazing experiences with people who are Christians. And so I think that just being a really good ambassador for Christ and loving people, I think that's a huge way you can live out your faith beyond your personal uh your faith life.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, and I think it makes a really big difference because people can really tell when you value them and when you treat them with respect, and when you yeah, just like live out the fruit of the spirit. People can really tell.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Well, Naomi, this has been so good, catching up and hearing a bit, your story and what God is doing in your life. One kind of final question is, do you have any advice for, that high school student that, or maybe it's a transfer student, someone at another institution, or maybe a mature student? For that student who's considering Redeemer, do you have any advice for them right now, whether they're studying business or any program at Redeemer?
Yeah, I think a big one is take a little bit of the pressure off of yourself.
Mm,
God works through so many different ways, and one decision that you make in your life isn't going to like make or break your career or anything.
mm,
I know I was a very anxious high schooler. I took a gap year, and even a gap year, I was still like, oh, I don't know if I do this, and like, what if I make the wrong decision? God works through very many ways. And so just kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, and also think, what is the environment that
yeah.
I'm going to be entering? Like, do I want to be in an environment that, is encouraging me and supporting me to be able to make these decisions, but also giving me really good skills? Um, or do I want to be, in a different environment? I think that that's a big one that somebody gave me the advice to choose a school not just based on its ranking or based on its academic focus or specialty or whatever. Just focus on the environment you're going to go into.
Mm.
And so really think about that. Think about also just different things that you're interested in, like make a list of like your skills and what your ideal work environment looks like, and not just like the actual work you do, but also like, do I prefer to work from home? Do I prefer to work in an office? Do I like, talking to people all the time, or do I prefer having more of an independent work? Like, I think doing kind of that introspection is really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, and also just, yeah, trusting God that the decision you make, it will be for the good. You will learn from it. No experience is a bad experience. Like, you can learn from all kinds of experiences, both at work or at school. So yeah, don't stress too much, but do your due diligence, and just yeah, try to figure out what place is the best fit for you personally.
Wow. Well, now just fantastic advice, encouraging students about, well, trusting God first and foremost, but also, considering factors like the environment of your school, the environment of a workplace there. That's really, really appreciate that insight. And now this whole interview, I've appreciated hearing your story, and just you've had so many good kind of, one-liner tidbits of information along the way here. But thanks for coming on this podcast, and blessings on you as you go on to start your master's program this fall.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And if you are watching this and you want more information about Redeemer, or other stories like Naomi, you can check out some of our other alumni series. As always, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode.